Farhat wonders, how much do you think ICE will damage America in the long term?
I think one of the great concerns now is that America is supposed to have the World Cup next year.
Mhm.
So, millions of people around the world are coming. Is ICE going to be standing in every single stadium looking at who raises a Palestinian flag and then quickly go take his visa away, take his visa away, and then go and deport them? Is that the way ICE is going to operate? One of the reasons that this is, I think this is an excellent question is, I tell you a funny anecdote, even though anecdotes are bad form, but I think it answers the question very well. ICE were vicious when they arrested me, and they were vicious when they took me to detention center. But on the way to the airport, when I was going to the airport in order to fly back to London, they spent 2 hours and a half telling me sob stories about how difficult their life is, making other people's lives miserable. That, oh,
Mm.
actually, it's really tough for us too. And, people don't show enough understanding and we're not as bad as the media portrays us. And, one of the reasons we have to use cuffs is it's for our own safety as well. You don't know what kind of threat we'll be in, etc. And as I got off, one of the guys stops me and says to me, listen, we're human too. And, they were terrified of what the media might say as a result of the experiences. Someone made a joke online, said, what an own goal putting a journalist in a facility in the midst of all of those inmates. The point that I'm making is that ICE act with impunity because the criticism is about them detaining people, not about the conditions they keep the detainees in. The reason they delay people through bureaucratic loopholes from appearing in front of the judge is because ICE know what they're doing is illegal. They know that if they get caught and if journalists catch on to what's happening in those facilities, they will most likely be dismantled, and G4S and GEO will probably be dragged into the lawsuit as well in that regard for their treatment of those inmates themselves. And that's why I argue that when people say America has gotten worse under Donald Trump, I say yes and no, not because I'm defending Trump in any way. Rather, what I'm saying is, for all of the attacks on the rights of ordinary Americans, as it stands, the courts are standing firm. Israel tried to pass a law in Congress in order to punish anybody caught boycotting the Israelis with a $1 million fine and a 10-year prison sentence. Marjorie Taylor Greene and these others rallied, they pulled that bill, and in the end, it didn't end up getting passed. You look at, for example, the students who eventually get in front of the courts, they're being exonerated by the courts who are upholding freedom of speech. You're seeing now the American population now considering that actually it should be local issues that govern how they vote, as opposed to voting on the basis of lobbies and politicians and the like. What's happening under Donald Trump is that the raw nature, the blunt force of how he's trying to pursue an agenda is proving to be so offensive to Americans that Americans are turning around and saying, hang on a second, that's not the way I want my state to run. That's not the way I want my country to be run.